everyone and welcome to today's lecture. So today we'll be looking at questionnaire design. Now questionnaire, as we know, is a tool for collecting data, for collecting information from the respondents, and it is a very effective tool in understanding their preferences, their behaviors, their likes and dislikes. And questionnaire can be both qualitative and quantitative to gather the information depending on what kind of information we require. And this is generally a written document wherein the respondents are required to either tick the options or they are required to write into the given space. So, for a good questionnaire, some of the things that we require are for it to be valid. Now, what we understand by the term valid is that the questionnaire should ask what it intends to ask. So, it should be a very clear question that we want to know from the respondent, and it should be written or phrased in a way that the respondent is able to understand what is being asked of them. So the objective of the question should be clear, so no ambiguity should be there in the question. And for achieving this validity, it's always a good idea to get it validated by experts. So there are several ways in which we can do that. Delphi technique is one of those ways in which the questionnaire can be validated by the experts. So now several ways of doing that is, one is that there may be a ready-made tool available to us, that is the questionnaire may be available to us, which has already been validated earlier either through peer review or through team of experts. And the other way is to prepare a questionnaire and then get it validated by the team of experts who are working in that same area of study. Now, the next point here is to be reliable. So, the reliability of the questionnaire means that it should yield the same answer if the same question is posed to the respondent repeatedly. Now, if I ask the question, for example, do you find this remote to be easy to use? So even if I ask the respondent the same question 5 times at different intervals or after showing other remotes, so the answer should remain the same. So one day it should not be yes, I find it efficient, and the other day it should not be that no, I do not find it efficient. Now it's only an example, but the essential point is that the question should yield the same response from the respondent. So one way to do it is to test and retest. So we are asking the respondent the same question, and then after a certain gap of time we'll ask the question again. So it will depend on the protocol of the experiment that we are going to be following. So reliability becomes important. The tool has to be reliable enough so that it gives us the right answers and it is not misleading. The third is interesting. So it is more likely that an interesting questionnaire is going to be filled up by the respondent, and of course a question that is deemed to be boring by the respondent will not get filled. Also, a questionnaire which is interesting to the user will also get us correct information. The data that we will get will be right, and they will put an effort into answering the questionnaire. If the questionnaire is not interesting and is on the spectrum of being boring, then we may not even get the right responses. The respondent may lose interest and they may just tick any of the available options, or they may not take a lot of interest in filling the right answer. So it can then also question the validity of the responses that we have collected. So it is important that the questionnaire that we design is interesting to the user. The next point is succinct. So a succinct questionnaire will ask questions that aim to answer only the research objectives. So the objectives, if they are very clear, they will help us create a questionnaire which is very pointed in that particular direction for which we are seeking the answers. So the scope of the study for this becomes very important, that we remain in the scope of the study, and also our questions that we are preparing are linked to the aim and objective of our study. So that will ensure that the answers that we will receive will be very much authentic and useful for the purpose for which we have created this particular questionnaire. Now, limited number of questions is that we do not want to just go on and on with our questions so that the respondent is tired of filling our questionnaire. Because if it is too long, if it is asking the questions maybe repeatedly, maybe it is asking the same question in a different form, or there are just too many questions, or ambiguous questions, or questions which the answer for which can be derived from what they had answered earlier. So, in that case, the questionnaire becomes very long, and then the user also loses the interest. So, respondent may get tired of this long questionnaire. So, it is important that the number of questions are limited, so we are not missing out on the information that we are seeking. At the same time, we are not making it a very long process for the respondent. So, next point is no undesirable questions. So, there are certain questions which are considered undesirable from the point of view of being very intrusive. So, we do not want to at any point come across as investigating the private affairs of the respondents. So, we do not want to ask those questions that may make the respondents feel invaded, that the privacy is being invaded, or where they are feeling uncomfortable to answer. So, we have to keep those questions on the side. And then non-controversial questions. So, now some questions may lead one to be a little partial or little biased towards a certain direction. For example, asking their political opinions. So, now we have to look at questions that are asking them to give their opinions impartially. So, any question that may be giving us a partial response, we have to stay away from those questions. Now, there are broadly three types of questionnaires. So, one is the structured questionnaire, unstructured, and semi-structured. Now, in the structured questionnaire, we have also discussed this briefly in one of the earlier lectures. So, these are the questionnaires which have a structure, which have a properly designed structure, and these have a pre-defined set of questions, and we are just seeking answers for those questions only. Now, some of the characteristics of these closed-ended or structured questionnaires is that they are closed-ended. So, closed-ended means that the choice of answers will be very limited, that will be given to the respondent. So, we will give them maybe multiple choice questions, or maybe questions where they have to answer with a yes or no. So, these are the closed ended questions. Then the contingency questions are related to the previous questions. So, they will be continuing with the question that we have asked earlier. The quantifiable data is the data that we can quantify. So, it will be in terms of number. So, now these are the questionnaires which are generally used for large scale surveys, wherein we go to a sample size of the population. Of course, because it is not possible to question the entire population of the country, so we will take a sample from there, and then the sample will give us a trend. It will show us the direction in which this particular sample size is showing the preferences. So, now this data can be quantified, so we can say whether 70% of people like this remote control or 25% people like the remote. So, that helps us get the responses in terms of the number and helps us quantify the data. Then next is large sample size. So, these structured questionnaires are particularly useful, like I said, for larger populations, because these are structured, the questions are multiple choice or yes or no types. So, these will give us the answers rather quickly, and we can cover a larger number of population with the help of these questionnaires if it is administered properly, keeping all the important aspects of designing this questionnaire in mind. Then objective response is that the focus is on gathering data that is factual. The objective answers are required here rather than subjective. Subjective meaning the personal preferences. For that, we will develop a different type of questionnaire. So, in this type of questionnaire, we will need the objective type of responses. So, apart from these characteristics, the Structured interviews may also have certain disadvantages. So some of them are that to design this kind of a questionnaire, we need more preparation time, because we are asking questions which are yes or no, or which have a few options to choose from. So our questions have to be very well designed, that give us these proper answers and which are not ambiguous or which are not repetitive. So the other point is that sometimes the structured questionnaires, we may realize that we have left out some questions, because once the tool is ready, it has been distributed, and if we feel that one or two questions which were very imperative have not been included, now there is no chance to really add those questions in the questionnaire. And of course, asking those two questions separately will also not make any sense, because there's a whole structure to the questionnaire itself. So that is one of major downside to this structured questionnaire. Also, when we are asking them to respond in yes or no, or just selecting the options, it also restricts the choice that is given to the user. So they will feel a little restricted. They may have more opinion, but because of the options given to them, they will be forced to select from those questions itself. So that can feel a little restrictive by the respondent. Also, these questionnaires can seem a little bit of impersonal. So they are very mechanical or very business like, because we're just seeking the questions. We are not interested in the personal opinions at this point. So they may come off as very business like and impersonal. And also, because of the questions not being personal, the respondents may feel like their options or their opinions are not valued. So that is another feeling that they may get. So coming to the unstructured questionnaires, they differ greatly from the structured questionnaires in terms of the way they are designed, because here we are looking or seeking the opinions of the respondents. So here we will not use standardized questions. This will be more like a conversation with the respondent, and also one answer that the respondent is giving us may lead to another question, and this may sort of go on until the researcher has gathered enough information. So some of the characteristics of the unstructured questionnaire are that they are informal in approach. So of course, because we do not really have the fixed criteria for getting the opinion of the respondent, so they are more open, they are more like a conversation, and they are open ended. So wherein one question may lead to an answer, and then that answer may lead to further questions by the one who's asking the question, because the answer may lead to, say, a pain point which the respondent has mentioned. Now the researcher may not have been aware of that particular pain point, and now it is a new information for them. So they may frame another question based on that new point that has come up with from the conversation, and then the respondent will answer that question, and they may go back to the previous question, or it may open up another channel for a new question that the question seeker was not prepared from, and it may continue the conversation in a different direction altogether. So these are open ended. This offers flexibility and adaptability according to context. So depending on the context, the flow of the conversation may be guided, and it can become flexible. The question seeker, answer seeker, the person who is conducting the questionnaire, so they have to be adaptable in order to steer the conversation where it is flowing and not force it. Also descriptive in nature, which means that when you are asking a question, the respondent may be asked to describe the scenario or explain what they felt like, how did they perceive that situation depending on the question. So it is more descriptive, it will have more details involved. Then often qualitative in nature, meaning that it will be qualitative wherein the respondent will be talking about their experience, and once the researcher has collected this information from many such respondents, then they will see whether there is certain theme that is emerging out of it, whether all the 20 respondents have they had the same kind of an experience, or does it differ, or are there any similarities out of their answers? And subjective responses, which means that it will be dependent from person to person. Everybody has their own preferences. So one may find that for the same question, wherein in the structured questionnaire we were asking only yes and no, and the respondent was only limited to either saying that they like this remote or they do not like this remote, the answer was very restrictive. Now, in this case, if the same question is asked, the respondent may say that I do like the shape of the remote, but I do not like the button because I do not know whether it's clicking or not, or the texture is not good, or the color is could have been different. This is not very vibrant. So, this is the way in which it will be subjective. One may say that this color is good, the other may say that it's difficult to spot, so maybe it should be a little bit of a different color, maybe red, green, blue. So, where in the structured interview, we're just saying yes, no, here we are able to share our opinions a lot more in detail and more subjectively. Now, some of the issues that are there, or some disadvantages or some issues with the unstructured questionnaire, are that when the questions are not prepared in advance. So, of course, this kind of questionnaire is unstructured, but at the same time, the researcher should be prepared with a broad structure of the questions, because the researcher, while conducting the study, may realize that they have forgotten to ask a question, or that there is some biasness in the question they have asked. So, although it is more qualitative, more subjective, at the same time, some of these problems may not be avoidable. So, the researcher has to be prepared for them beforehand. Now, some respondents are not very comfortable with open questions, so they may not like the way the whole question session is going, because they may find it too intrusive. So, we have to also understand the preferences of the respondents. We have to take their opinion before we get into this conversation style of question answer. So, unlike the structured interview where we have done our study, we have gotten it validated, so more time has been spent there in the structured questionnaire. Compared to that, in the unstructured, we have not really spent a lot of time beforehand, because we know that one will lead to the other, one question or one answer will lead to the next. But the interview itself can be very time consuming, because it is more qualitative, more subjective, and the person who's answering may go on to the discussion or giving a descriptive analysis of the situation or their feeling. So, this whole process can become very time consuming, and the questions are not standardized unlike the structured questionnaire. So, the questions that we are asking may sometimes be out of sequence, because, like I said, the disadvantage being that the question seeker may forget to ask a question because it is unstructured. And if they recall a question at a later stage, so at that time it may lead the respondent to be confused, because the order of the question has sort of mixed up. So, that confusion can be one of the downsides of the open questionnaire. And also at the same time, because we are having this long conversation and we are also recording it, hopefully, because either noting it down or recording the voice recording or video recording, however the documentation is taking place. Now, this data is going to be a lot. It is going to be a huge data. It may not be standardized data, and then it will be difficult to analyze the information that we have gathered. So, that can become challenging at the end of the session. So, whereas in the structured questionnaire, since it is binary or the options are limited, we can quickly put that information down and analyze it. Here, we'll have to go through the entire conversation, take down the necessary points, and this will make the whole process a little bit longer as compared to the structured interviews or structured questionnaires. So, semi-structured questionnaires, which are a combination of both structured and unstructured, so they will have some structured questions also, and at the same time they may have some open-ended questions as well. So, Now these help in collection of both the qualitative and quantitative data. So they are quite helpful in that because we get both the type of opinions of the respondents. And some of the questions that are here are pre-planned, but it also gives the opportunity to the researcher to ask some questions which they may have not included, or the responses are directing them to ask certain questions that may not have been present in the questionnaire, or the questions that they may have been unplanned for or unprepared for. So the type of questions are also several. We can see here the open-ended question. Now, open-ended questions, as you can see, it requires the user to answer in their own words. So it is used to gather the opinion of the respondents in the best way possible. And here we can see an example which says, explain your experience with the application. So this is an example of open-ended question. Now, on one hand, it allows the user to write their experience because we are asking their experience. But if there are too many open-ended questions, sometimes it is also observed that the user gets a little bit tired to write too much. So a questionnaire that balances both these open-ended and closed-ended questions, so that is where the interest of the user can be maintained. Next is the closed-ended question. So here we can see that the choice of answers is very restricted as opposed to the open-ended one, and we can see the options are given here. So this is a question pertaining to the gender, so they have to take one of those gender. So dichotomous questions are where two options are given, so whether they have to answer yes or no, or true or false, or agree or disagree. So they have to select one side, any one side of the question that has been asked. So here they've asked, what was the product delivery, was the product delivered safely to correct address? So here they have the option of only answering yes or no. So we will see these kind of questions a lot of times on these e-commerce platforms when we are sort of maybe returning a product or we want to exchange a product. So they will give us these kind of questions, and depending on what we are answering, then the next question may be asked. Then multiple choice questions are where the respondent is presented with options to fill in more than one choices. So here we can see that what app do you use to buy clothes, and we have four options. So out, if not these three, then the fourth is other, where the respondent can also write their application that they use apart from these applications. Now rating scale questions. So here the respondents assess the question and give the answer to the question based on the scale or the dimension that is provided to the respondent. So it is used for quantitative usability tests because it gives us a number, and that number can be added up. So we can see that how many respondents are falling on the scale. So for example, if we say that how would you rate the experience of the ride on a scale? So this is a question asked for the cab booking application. And now if we see that a number of respondents are taking, say for example 2, so we know that it is giving them a very poor experience. So there may be several factors dependent for that. And on the other hand, if we see that the respondents, majority of them are answering with number 9, so that means they're having a positive experience. So that means that the application is been taken by the respondents quite well, and but there still may be some room for improvement because they are only selecting 9 and not 10. But then this helps us to see the trend, or if it is 5 or 6. Now Likert type scale questions. So this is another similar type of question where we are asking for their opinion on the agreement or disagreement level. So where they will answer whether they like something based on, do they strongly disagree with the statement, or they disagree, or whether they are neutral they agree or strongly agree. So generally this kind of question is asked in terms of a statement, and then the respondents have to tick one of these options. So again, if we take the example of the previous cab booking application and we pose a statement saying that the application allows me to change the location easily. So if this is the question, and if the app is not allowing one to change the location easily or not at all, then the respondent will select disagree or strongly disagree. But if they feel that yes, the location can be changed easily, then they will select agree or strongly agree. And there may be some respondents who have never really had to use this option of changing the location. They may not have experienced. So for them, probably it will be neutral because they're neither agreeing nor disagreeing because they've not had the experience of this particular option that the application is offering or not offering. So here we can see that the strongly disagree, disagree, neutral, agree and strongly agree. Now we have given each of these points. So 1, 2, 5, and once all the questions have been answered by the respondents, then their responses will be collated. So we will see that how many have answered the strongly agree. So we will be adding all those 5 points or 3 points for the neutral responses, and that will show us the trend that what is the experience of the users when it comes to this particular cab booking application. So the distribution of the questionnaire, we can see here that there are broadly 4 types. One is the online computer based distribution, telephone based distribution, mail based distribution and in-house based distribution. So the online questionnaire is where the respondents are sent a questionnaire. So these are quite popular nowadays because everybody is well connected. So these are sent through email or through other, maybe WhatsApp or other kind of applications where people can discuss, a platform where people can gather, they can make a group also. And this particular one is very efficient because it is less time consuming. It is also very affordable because there is no expense to be made as such. It can be easily distributed with the help of the internet, either through email or through making a group on certain online platform. And for the respondent also, it is quite efficient in the way that they can respond whenever they have time, so they can answer it at their own leisurely pace. Also, there is no pressure on the respondent because they can do this in the privacy of their own home, so there is nobody sitting with them or directing them, so they feel more free to answer to the questions that have been asked. But at the same time, the respondent may also ignore these questionnaires because they may get occupied in something else which is more important, or they may forget about the questionnaire, or they may not take it very seriously because there is nobody reminding them physically or requesting them to fill it up. So they may also ignore the questionnaire at the same time. Now the telephone questionnaire is when the researcher will make a phone call and talk with the respondent, will ask their questions on the telephone. So now these responses are quick because it's almost like having a face-to-face conversation. Only thing is that it is through the telephone, but the respondent here may be a little hesitant. They may not want to converse directly. Some of them maybe are not comfortable in having this conversation. At the same time, it is not a very expensive medium. It is also time saving because you do not have to fix a meeting with the respondent, but at their convenience, a time can be fixed for the conversation if they are comfortable talking on the phone. And this saves time also, and at the same time is cost effective. But it is time taking in the sense that it is a conversation. So the conversation can go on for quite a lot of time, and fixing the appointment may be a little challenging depending on the availability of the respondent. So the researcher may not be able to reach a larger number of people in a given span of time. So that can be one disadvantage. Now, in-house questionnaire is one where the researcher will visit the respondent. And so whether it is their home or workplace or a common place where they both feel comfortable meeting up. So the advantage is that it will be a one-on-one conversation. The researcher, apart from getting the responses, can also observe the respondent. So their body language, their expressions can also be noted down by the researcher. So that is an additional information that they are getting. And it is inexpensive, but it is a little bit slow because it is a time taking process, and also to fix the time for the session to be held can also be time taking. And lastly, we have the mail questionnaire. So these questionnaires are not used quite a lot nowadays because of certain redundancies, but still some of the market research does require these. So here the physical questionnaire is sent to the respondent via mail, and they're supposed to fill it up and send it back. So this type of questionnaire may discourage the respondent from filling it up, because then there's another hassle of sending it back to the researcher. So they may be not very encouraged to fill it up. And now in the time of internet and phone and everything being so reachable, so this method is not very productive from that angle. And also it is time consuming and it is expensive, in the sense that it is to be sent back to the user. Depending on how big a questionnaire it is, the charges may be applicable of the mail. So it makes it not a very desirable way of getting the data, or for the respondent to answer to the questions of the researcher. So coming to the format of the questionnaire, that how the questions should be put into the questionnaire. So they should be chosen on certain factors, such as type of audience. So now what is their level of education, what is their background. So in some cases we may feel that face to face conversation is better suited, because they may not understand the question or the language in which the questionnaire has been prepared. They will not be able to answer, or the researcher may themselves be not very good at certain language that the respondent is good at. So that barrier may be there. So face to face questions can be very useful, but they can be very costly in terms of time and also fixing the appointment. Now web based survey and telephone based survey, they are time and cost saving, because one can fill them up at any time, and also these are relatively very cheap because no money is involved. And here the objective is that the researcher may have to use visual and audio based surveys. So questionnaire application challenges. So one is the uncertainty of candor, meaning that we do not know whether the answer that we will get from the respondent will be an honest answer, or will it be biased or unbiased, and at the same time whether our respondent is interested, disinterested, and also the issue of privacy becomes very important here. So there is no way of checking whether the answers that we have received are the honest answers. Second is misunderstandings and misinterpretations. So the responses can be unreliable and due to the subjective opinions, because the questions which are open ended, where the respondent can answer from their personal point of view. So now here we may find that the responses are unreliable. There could be several factors for that, but the reliability becomes questionable here. And the interpretation of the questions can be done by the user how they please. So the answers may also depend on this misinterpretation of the question that the respondent has done. Now digital quantification of huge influx of data. So this may give us inaccurate results. And anonymity. So it is important to keep the identity of the respondent safe. So at the beginning of the exercise itself, the respondent should be assured that their personal information will not be shared with anybody else, and that this work is for the particular intended use that they have inform the respondent initially. So that is important. So improper selection of target audience. Now, as I have mentioned in one of the earlier lectures also, that it is always wise to have a pilot study. Pilot study meaning that trying our questionnaire or tool on a smaller sample group to find any inconsistencies or any problems that may arise in the questions that are being asked, or maybe the questions are redundant, or maybe they are repetitive. So before we go out and start asking our questions to a large number of population, conducting this on a small group will help us refine our questionnaire so that the final answers that we get from the larger population as intended, so those are reliable. And we have seen earlier that how this unreliable data can give us the wrong information and it can lead the research astray, which we do not want. So also the imbalance and the inaccuracies in the results can be taken care of. So pilot study, then tweaking the questionnaire, and then finally getting the final responses. Then underage and adolescent participants. So where the respondents are below the age of adulthood, below the age of 18, so there they need a guardian, which could be a parent or somebody who is responsible for their well-being, for them to be present and for their permission to be granted in order for the researcher to go ahead with the study. And then finally, sensitivity of the topic. So some of the topics may be very insensitive. So the researcher has to take care that the questions that they are asking are not hurting anybody's sentiments, whether they are personal sentiments or whether they are religious sentiments or any other sentiments that may get triggered or may get hurt. So for that reason, it is important that to identify those areas that can cause hurt and not to include them in the questionnaire, because human behavior, ultimately we know that we cannot predict the human behavior. So for example, if the respondent is asked a question which ends up hurting them, then the next question or the next question, we may find that now they have lost interest in answering our questionnaire, or they may give incorrect questions because now they are in an upset mood. So also the mood of the respondent will also determine the output of the study that we are conducting. So if somebody is in a foul mood, somebody had a big argument and then they're answering our questionnaire, so the way they will answer our questions, the level of interest that they will take in answering our questions may differ from if we were to ask them these questions on a day where, for example, they got a promotion and they're very happy. So both the days these questions will be answered in a very different manner. So that kind of a bias will be there, and the researcher will have to be very mindful that the responses may change depending on these experiences that the respondent is facing. So we will end this lecture here today, and I will see you all in the next class. Thank you.